This is the way. This is the way. What is up, Star Wars fans? Welcome back to my channel. Today, as we have been doing every single week, we are talking The Mandalorian. This week is Chapter 3, and I need you guys in the comments below. Have you seen this episode? Were you looking forward to it? I'm talking a bit lower than I normally am because I woke up earlier. It's 4 a.m., so wake up, apartment complex. And I know I had a non-spoiler section in my review last week. We're just going to skip that. We're going full spoilers. We're talking through this episode. It's episode 3. Those who are watching, most likely, they have been watching through the season. A lot of things to talk about here. And let's get right into it. So, The Mandalorian Chapter 3, this time directed by Deborah Chow. And we'll talk about that name here in just a second. The battered Mandalorian returns to his client for his reward. It's the farthest in the parsec. And oh my goodness, if I wasn't getting the most John Wick vibes throughout this entire episode, just the way that this bounty hunter system works, really the way the episode played out, it felt like John Wick really in the best way possible. I mentioned Deborah Chow is directing this particular episode, and apparently, from what I've seen, Lucasfilm liked her work so much, they brought her on to oversee the Obi-Wan series, and I was curious, is this episode going to be a step above the previous two, or is it just going to continue this story? I believe it does both. I think this is the best episode we've seen of The Mandalorian so far because it really combines what we've loved about the first two episodes. It brings us more into the world of Star Wars. It establishes more of what the tone for this show from here on out is going to be, and we get plenty of action and intensity, and it really does go down the path that I think a lot of us expected. A lot of us expected the Mandalorian to care and feel for this child in such a way that really he has never felt before, but not a way that his people, the other Mandalorians, are not expecting of him. Obviously, as we see towards the end, they anticipated this happening, and they have his back. They understand why he's doing what he's doing. They live by a code. They are these people for a reason, and I really like what they're just kind of giving us in terms of tidbits for the Mandalorian people all throughout the episode. Now, we learn plenty about the other bounty hunters as well. Everyone's after the same thing. Everyone wants to be paid as heavily and as wonderfully as possible. And our boy, Mando, gets that at the beginning of this episode. We see him go in, get upgrades to his armor because it was compromised during battle. We also get an insight into how honest these people are. He says, I don't want you to imprint that into my suit because I did not win fairly. I had help from someone else. And of course, he's talking about the kid, and he really does, he has this this unspoken bond with this child, and you can see it. It's crazy to say, but you can see it on his face every time he's talking about the child, when he just stops, turns around, and asks, what are you going to do with it? What are your plans here? And then he goes in to get the child, and he sees that this doctor, I guess, who was supposed to be performing these tests, well, he's the only reason he claims that the child is still alive because they wanted to destroy it. There's something about this Yoda baby, once again, and I love talking about the Yoda baby because everyone loves the Yoda baby. We're seeing memes, we're seeing pictures, we're seeing things online of how obsessed people are becoming over this one entity, and I don't blame anyone because it's fascinating to see where they're taking this story so far and how this child, 50 years old, this child is going to play into the rest of this show and really to the rest of the universe. There has to be something here more so than what we're seeing so far in this show. There's going to be a role played somewhere, but right now it really is a father-son relationship between Mando and the child, right? He's after this child. He realized that he made a mistake by giving it up. Now, granted, he got a nice little upgrade out of it. Maybe he was planning on doing that the entire time, but I truly think he had something just kind of knocking on the door of his heart, telling him, hey, you can't leave the child behind. There's something more. There's something special, and there really is an unspoken bond between the two, and it's the father-son dynamic. It's that relationship that we see in movies and TV shows all the time. It gets us to care more about characters that are a bit harder to penetrate emotionally, and I say this because this is a character, it's the perfect example of someone that we should not be relating to because we don't see the expression on the face, but we do see the expression through the movements, through the silence, when he doesn't say anything, but he's turning his head, and you can just tell what the emotion is. That's the sign of a great character and great character development. And just also the tone of his voice. When he's asking what is going to happen to this child, when he finally realizes what he has to do, when he has to go back for it, and he is this unstoppable force. When he is mowing through the stormtroopers later on in the episode, which I thought the action scenes were filmed wonderfully. It gives me hope for what Deborah Chow is going to do in the future of Star Wars, and everything looks so good, and that big battle at the end when his people come in and they're exchanging their lines, which I think are absolutely brilliant. Just something else for Star Wars fans to repeat, because God knows we haven't had the catchy lines of dialogue and the iconic characters so far. Just kidding, we have. But they're just adding more to that here and building onto this lore and really building onto the character that we know so far in The Mandalorian. And I really enjoyed where this episode took us. It was predictable. I saw this coming. We all knew he would go back for the kid. We knew he would confront Werner Herzog's character, as he did. Now, there still hasn't been a giant showdown between he and one of the bosses. I mean, we got that small exchange between he and Carl Weathers at the end. I knew he wasn't dead. I think we all knew he wasn't dead. They're not going to kill off Carl Weathers this early on, but I'm interested to see where that relationship goes and what Carl Weathers' character ends up doing, who he ends up telling that the Mandalorian escaped with this child, and now really he's on the run. I'm interested to see where this goes, who comes after him, who he has to fight next, but I thought this episode was so wonderfully directed and paced. My only major issue with the series so far is one, it's taken a bit to get to where we are, but I've still enjoyed it for the journey that we've been on. But two, I just think these episodes are too short. Now, I've seen some people come out and say, well, for the budget, since it's so big, it's nice that the episodes are shorter because they can utilize that a bit more. But I want more. You know, I wanted every episode to be about an hour long, or at least 45 minutes, and we didn't get that. Every episode is around 30-something minutes so far, and to me, I need a bit more fleshing out, especially when you look at episode 2, which could have used that. I think this episode was actually better paced than I expected it to be for the length, but still, I want the episodes to be longer. Maybe that's the testament to how good this show has been to me so far. It's also turning out a bit differently than I think some people expected. That, for me, is why it's not a show that's going to get every Star Wars fan on board immediately. But I do think this is going to be the first episode where the consensus is kind of the same, as in the action's picked up, the pacing has picked up. It's a bit predictable to this point, but it is really entertaining and exciting. And the action scenes, like I said, are what really drove this story forward. And I am so excited for next week. I know I keep saying that, but man, I can't wait to see what episode 4 holds. I can't wait to see who the director is next week. I'm trying to surprise myself every single week. It's like last week, Rick Famuyiwa. Awesome. This week, Deborah Chow. Fantastic. She may have done the best job that we've seen so far. Granted, she's had the most story to work with because this was a jam-packed episode, but it moved so quickly. The pacing was wonderful. I need you guys in the comments down below. First off, if you enjoyed this video and you like what I'm doing here every single week, to support it, to make me want to do more, if you could hit that thumbs up button, that would be awesome. It really does make a difference on this channel, and it tells me that you want more Mandalorian videos. Not just episode recaps. I could be doing more videos as well. And two, I need your comments, man. This has to be a discussion for this to work. What was your favorite part of this episode? Is this your favorite episode so far, like it is mine? And what do you think is going to happen with the relationship between our lead character and the Yoda baby? I love the Yoda baby. As soon as the toys start coming out, I will be getting some and placing them right over here. Thank you once again for watching this video. I'll be back next Friday, and later on today, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, 21 Bridges, and then Saturday morning, Knives Out, a jam-packed schedule. You guys are truly the best. Thank you so much for watching, and I have spoken.